Welcome to the Local Government Forum, and before us we have the candidates for Memorial Health System Hospital Board, and we'll give you each a couple of minutes to introduce yourself, say a little something about yourself, and then we'll get into the questions. Ms. Fink.
Yes, I'm Millie Fink. I live at the edge of Chapman. I have been on the hospital board 12 years now, I think. Came on as an appointment and then was elected. I've been married to my husband, George Fink, for 53 years this year. And I have 6 children, 5 boys. So these 5 guys that have been on the board haven't been much of a challenge for me, having 5 sons. One daughter. And I'm retired from Social and Rehabilitation Services, which now is the Division of Family Services, I think, after 24 years.
Thank you. Mr. Wyatt.
I'm Kent Wyatt. My wife Diane teaches at Abilene Middle School. My oldest son Sean is a financial advisor in Hutch. He's married to Sheena Miller, who is from Abilene. We've got one-year-old granddaughter. And my daughter is in her final year at UMKC and studying health science. Been on the board as the same length of time as Millie has been, and currently work at Astor Bank.
Thank you. Dr. Biggs.
I'm Dennis Biggs. I'm a retired family physician here in town after we moved to Abilene in '76 and was a physician here until last December, or 37 years. Been married to my wife Sheila for 43 years almost. No, 44 years almost. And we had 3 kids who all graduated from Abilene and have gone on to do well. I have 4 grandkids.
You've been married longer than I have.
Mr. Smith.
My name is Paul Schmidt. I moved to Abilene in 1967 and raised a family of 3 boys here. Married my wife, Iris, in 1957, so that puts us at about 57 years of marriage. Successful, that is. I was born and raised on a farm. Do have a substantial farming background. My career was with the Farm Service Agency. I supervised Farm Service Agency offices in over 34 counties, but primarily 13 at a stint. Very familiar with fixing budgets for them and so forth, working with Commodity Credit Corporation, with approximately 100 employees at most times. The total service time I had with the agency was 32 years. After high school, drafted into the Army and spent 18 months in Korea. So that's basically what my background is.
Did you get cold over there?
It was cold. It was frozen chosen.
Yes. This question was submitted by Mark Miller, I can tell, because it took 2 lines to print it. But this is an easy one, Ms. Fink. You ready?
Sure.
Okay. The hospital was recently recognized as one of the 3 top performing hospitals in the state. I think that's a Yahoo, right? That's very good. How well do you feel the hospital serves the district, and what changes would you champion if elected?
Well, I think the hospital serves the district very well. And I think that we certainly will continue to do that as a board, whether I'm reelected to the board or someone else is. Changes that I would hope to see, I have some personal goals, and one of those is about women's health issues. I'm very interested in women's health issues, especially around stroke and heart conditions. I would like to see at Memorial a little less use of the emergency room, whether that means an off-site or perhaps an on-site clinic, so that we don't have quite as much expense and people coming through the emergency room. I would support a dialysis unit so that people could stay closer to home when they needed those services. And I'd like to see the logo of the hospital become Caring for You Closer to Home.
Nice. Mr. Wyatt?
I do agree with Millie in the fact that I think the hospital does a very good job taking care of the people in our district. We've gone through some major changes with the completion of the hospital, the new doctors that have come on board. I think some of the changes we're going to continue to look at will be financial. We cannot control what the government does, and so it's extremely important for us to take a look out into the future, and we're not talking 1 to 5 years, we're talking 25 to 50. We have to make sure this is a vital hospital for our community, because I think it's extremely important to our community. And so by changes that we'll be looking at will not only be in financial, but in services that we can provide. Millie mentioned some of them, and they will be extremely important because we have to be able to provide services that the people of our district need.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Biggs?
I would certainly agree with the hospital is one of the top performing hospitals. And I think that the biggest reason for that is the staff, particularly the nursing staff and the nurses' aides, and working with them personally. I can't imagine having any better group of people. And I would certainly look to support those people as much as we can. You'd have to mention with that all of the allied health care people at the hospital, the emergency room, the respiratory care, the radiology, and I know I'm missing a number of them, but the staff of the hospital is excellent, and I would look to help to continue to support that staff as well as we possibly can. The changes Millie talked about certainly sound good, and I don't come on the board looking to make any huge changes. I would continue its excellence that they have already.
Mr. Smith?
Well, the recognition that the hospital has is, this is not by chance. It is by dedication of the people who administer the departments and the people who work in the departments. The brick and mortar that we have is wonderful, and that gives a lot of pride to the employees that we have, and it shows in their performance. So we're going to continue that. I think a goal with that is the patient satisfaction that we want to achieve, and these things that the patient wants is safety, and that means don't hurt me. It's quality, which means make me better, and it's service, which means be nice to me. So these things we wish to continue, and if we do, we'll continue with this badge of excellence. Changes? Yeah, we want to change. And the change we want to make is that we'll be better tomorrow than we were today.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wyatt, I'm going to take you towards the next question. As a hospital board member, what is your responsibility to our community?
I feel my responsibility as far as being a board member is to make sure that our health system overall provides as good a quality of care and service as we possibly can, because it's vital to me to have a hospital in this town. And so we have to look what's not just best for certain things. We have to look what's best for our patients and community and everybody to deal with, is that we can provide as great a service as we possibly can.
Thank you. Mr. Biggs?
I think my responsibility comes from my experience as a physician and working at the hospital and seeing the things that they are able to do and do extremely well, and make sure many of those things continue. And if I see signs, things that I think could be done better, to bring that to the attention of other board members, I think I'll come to the board as someone with experience, certainly not the experience of finance. My wife could tell you that. But the experience of working in and through the hospital and through its staff members to make it continue to do what they have done so well for the time that I've been involved.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
I think our responsibility is to promote and to continue and represent the interests of the population that the Memorial Hospital serves. It's all of Dickinson County and the surrounding areas outside of that. We're responsible to provide patient safety, as I mentioned before, quality, and service. And to do these things in a professional manner, which is expected. It's our responsibility to see that the hospital remains financially sound and maintain a professional staff. I was happy that the school board was here before us, because I do have a passion for two things that I think it makes a community solid and prosperous, and one is a school system that is viable and provides great education, and the other is a health system that is viable and provides great health service. Without them two, or either one, I feel the community suffers.
Thank you. Millie, you're the last one on that question.
Yes. Well, I tend to think of the community as being more than just the hospital district or more than just Abilene. I think that it's everyone and anyone who comes to the hospital for services. And so I think that we owe each one of those people, and I hope that we are giving them that now and will continue to give them in the future, a good, clean, safe environment where they can come and expect good service, good medical service, of course, but also people who are cordial and caring about them. And if we can continue to do that into the future, I think we certainly have a win-win situation.
Thank you. Dr. Biggs, we'll let you take this one first. What do you plan to do as a board member to facilitate a successful future for the hospital? What current successes will provide a springboard to that end? And I think the intent of the questioner was specific things.
I think I will have a lot to learn as far as being a board member and seeing what that side of the formula for success will be. I don't come to the board with any ideas of making any big changes, because I think that it's been a successful hospital and successful health system. So I think I will learn and listen a lot. I've learned to be a good listener over 37 years of practicing medicine, and I hope to continue that.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Memorial Health System has had has a great success in being recognized as one of the top performing hospitals in the state. This really is a springboard for continued success. And it's important to me that we started to and will continue to implement a strategic plan to guarantee success of the hospital. Looking forward to the next 15 or 20 years, in fact, is what we need to be doing. As mentioned before, we are in very uncertain times right now. It is important for us to be in tune with our legislatures, to talk to them, to see that they are promoting things that are correct for our community and the people that we are responsible to take care of. Teamwork and being proactive in strategy sessions is very important. Flowing with SWOT concept to identify strengths, weaknesses, operations. These things are important in these strategy sessions, and I believe we, as a board, will continue to do that and do it well.
Thank you. Ms. Fink?
We have just come through a very extensive remodeling and building project, and as a result of that, we have debt. And our debt is very manageable right now without delving into any of our other assets or cutting services or anything along those lines. We don't know, as has been mentioned, I think, what the government will bring as far as continued funding of certain programs. But we are extremely viable at this time. Having said that, I think that we need to keep our facilities up to date. We need to keep our equipment up to date. We need to make sure that each of the buildings, et cetera, under the hospital, the Memorial Health Systems umbrella are providing as good a service, and our staff is competent and well-educated and keeping up with the times, so that we can continue to provide good services to the people who come to us for whatever their service might be, whether that's medical at the hospital or whether that's the exercise center or daycare, whatever it might be. We need to grow our patient base, our consumer base over the next few years. We've brought on new physicians. We have, of course, this updated facility. We certainly have the capacity. We need to continue to try to bring on specialized treatments, specialized specialists, I should say. And as I said, continue to grow our consumer base. And in doing that, I think we will continue to be successful financially and continue to be both viable and have vitality.
Thank you. Mr. Wyatt?
Well, the other three have covered it quite a bit, but for me to get to and remain successful, regardless of what you're in, I think we found we can't stay at the status quo. We've reached a level, but we can't say we're satisfied with where we're at. If we don't continue to bring on and look for new services, like Millie mentioned, we have brought on 3 new doctors within the last little over a year, which we think is just fabulous. I mean, for Abilene, I think that's great news. So we've got 6 physicians along with the physician's assistants, the mid-levels, the nurse practitioners. We're extremely happy with that. But we can't just say, okay, we're there and now everything's fine. We're dealing with the same issues the school deals with. We don't know what the government's going to do. We have to be prepared to, if they cut things drastically, we have to be in a situation to where we can financially handle what we're doing, because yes, we do have debt, and right now we can handle that debt. And right now we're doing extremely well. But like I said, we can't just sit back and say, okay, we've done a good job up to now. We don't have to do anything else. You've got to continually look, because the changes are there every day.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, this question's yours. Working on an elected board is an exercise in constructive discourse, collaboration, and compromise. What is your experience in working with an elected board, and what strengths do you bring to the table?
Through my career, I've worked with many elected boards through the ag agencies, and I think the strengths of that is trying to be proactive and not being reactive. Don't try to micromanage, but be constructive and help when you're asked to help. In addition to this, I believe that I have quite a bit of experience. I've conducted middle management workshops through the years to try to promote people to become more self-thinking and to promote their ideas and give direction. I'm a believer that on a board of 5, if all 5 of us agree, 4 of them aren't necessary. So the big thing is cooperation, and I think we've had that, and we can have good discussions and come up with good solutions.
Thank you. Ms. Fink? Same question. Would you like me to read it? It's kind of long. What strengths are you going to bring to a board that requires constructive discourse, collaboration, and compromise?
And what is my experience in working with an elected board?
There you go.
This is the first experience that I have had working with a registered voter elected board. I have about 50 years of experience in volunteerism, working on several other boards and working in many organizations in both offices and as members. So I've worked in volunteerism for a long time. What I think that I bring to this board, I think I bring a rural perspective. I live in the eastern part of our hospital district, and I think that I bring something that's very unique to our board, which is a woman's perspective. And as I said before, I'm very interested in women's health issues, and I don't think any of them can really bring that woman's perspective to the board. I have this gray hair. I bring this senior perspective to the board. I'm very interested in issues having to do with the elderly, and of course we have the nursing home here in Abilene, and that's a wonderful thing for the hospital to have taken on and managed. I think that as a user of services at Memorial Health System, I have that perspective, and I would hope that everyone on this board does use the services and appreciate the services. So all of those things are things that I bring to the board. And as far as constructive discourse, collaboration, and compromise, I think that I certainly have the ability to do all of those things. I have the ability to not only stand up when I need to do that, but I also have the ability to compromise. And I can certainly, within the board now, I am the president of the Frontier States Board, and I'm on the scholarship committee for the board here at the hospital. And I sit as the hospital representative for hospice, home health and hospice. And I'm on the Memorial Foundation Board. So all of those are boards and situations and positions that I have been working as long as I've been on the board for the 12 years. And I think I am certainly able to say that I can collaborate and I can engage in constructive discourse. If I could just pronounce it, I'd be okay.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wyatt?
I, like Millie, have been on the board 12 years. I have been on several volunteer boards, but this is the first elected one from the public that I have actually been on. And like Dennis mentioned earlier, when I first came on this, it was new to me, so I basically listened and tried to learn a lot, because this is a ever-changing, fast-moving business that the health system's in. We're quite different from most hospitals in the fact that we've got a multitude of lines of business. I think we've got 7, in fact. Most hospitals our size do not carry that. When I'm on the board, what I've really tried to do is, and I agree with Paul, if everybody's agreeable to everything, you don't need that. But I think I've been able to sit back, listen to everybody's opinions, their thoughts, not only from the board members, but from the staff that we have, which I think is excellent, and be able to take that and put that into the best for the health system. And sometimes we agree and sometimes we don't agree. And that's okay, because you've got to be able to voice your opinion and get your thoughts out there so that everybody on the board can look at the direction we're trying to go and why we're trying to go there. Because ultimately it is for the betterment of the health system, so.
Thank you. Dr. Biggs?
I've also never been on an elected board. I was on the hospital staff as a physician for many years, and I do work on a malpractice board, which is not elected, it's appointed, but similar problems come up. We try to decide what to do on that board. And I think I'll bring, like Kent said, I'll bring my experience as a physician and working that side of the hospital and working with the staff and knowing their problems, sometimes too intimately. I think I'm a very good listener and can bring my experience to the board and offer what I think on any problem that's brought up.
Thank you. Ms. Fink, I think we're back to you for the first round of this question. Describe the most successful experience you have ever had in persuading someone to do something.
Well, something that comes to mind is the whole business of wanting to close 10th Street so that the hospital could be built over 10th Street. And I really can't take any credit for persuading anyone to do that, because I certainly was not the person who was the big persuader. But what I was asked to do several times was explain to people why in the world we would do such a thing as close 10th Street. I didn't realize how much traffic went through 10th Street and how many people really were attached to using that street. So I was able to explain to people why we wanted to close that street, what was going to happen when the street was closed, and at least I may not have been able to get people to absolutely agree to it, but at least they didn't completely disagree with that. More recently, I think of something in my personal life that I'm working on right now, which is I am trying to get the Butterfield Trail ruts outside Chapman on the National and State Historic Sites Registry. And I've certainly found out that that takes a lot of persuasion, a lot of research, and a lot of really good writing and talking to get that done. Now, I'm not saying I've gotten it done, because I haven't, but at least at this, I've made progress. And so that's a personal example of persuasion that's near and dear to my heart, and something that I would really continue to work hard at.
Thank you. Mr. Wyatt?
When I read that question, I really didn't look at it as something that I tried to do personally as far as persuading someone on a personal level. But the last one, as Millie talked about on 10th Street, I think the last one that really I dealt with on persuading and trying to express my feelings and opinions was when we started the hospital project, which was a major project. And there were a lot of people who were for it, and there were a lot of people who were against it. And when you have to take the time to really explain to somebody why you believe that this is in the best interest, and their thoughts were more, well, it's going to cause our taxes to raise, and why should we build a hospital? We don't need it. This hospital's been here long enough, and it still serves us. You have to really take the time to think out, why are you doing this? And to persuade somebody to try and understand that it is in the best interest for everybody. Your taxes weren't going to be raised because of it. We're going to provide better service. We're going to attract people to town. It's a major employer. We had to do that on quite a few levels.
Thank you. Dr. Biggs?
I looked at this question and really couldn't come up with any one answer to any of that. Although my experience as a physician, it had to do with persuading people to do things that were better for their health all day long. So I will fall back on some of those things. but really could not come up with any one thing that came to mind.
Okay. Well, Mr. Smith, you're the last one there, but you've already told us you've been married for 57 years. I'd just call it good right there.
It was good.
Yeah.
Was?
Yeah, it is.
It is. You better not say was.
This is being televised.
Yeah, it is in a past tense answer. But I don't know how to describe success other than what you see that you have done to improve the life of other people is my greatest success, in convincing people to be better, to improve themselves is a great success story for me. In my children, in my family, in my married life, or whatever. You know, I follow Warren Buffett's philosophy a little bit. He says if you want to be successful, find a partner who has low expectations. And so maybe that might have some truth. But
Is Mrs. Smith going to run for anything? Because I'd love to ask her that question.
Mrs. Schmidt.
that was a different scenario.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, to teach people and ask them to be honest, trustworthy, and just doing their best is a goal that I kind of like to do.
Thank you. Last question. I heard somebody close to me the other day quote me in this line, and I thought, goodness, I sure hope it's right. And I say quite often, leadership matters when the situation. So the question's about leadership. It says, board members are leaders. What's your leadership style? How do you influence people? And I think we start back with Millie again.
I think I've heard a couple of people say, or maybe it was Paul, said that when there are 4 members on a board, and they're all in agreement that, I don't know, would you say they're not needed, one's not needed or something? But I think that my personal leadership style is governing by consensus. And what I mean by that is listening very carefully to what others on your board have to say, or in whatever your situation is, asking questions, getting additional information if that's what you need, and when you're at that point where you feel you can make a decision, I like to think that the board would be in agreement if they, and that would be consensus. If there are people who cannot agree to disagree, then at least live with the decision that the board has made. And so, again, I would say that I think that's my personal style, is that I like to see people in consensus. I don't think that means that you can't discuss or even argue. There's a difference between argument and being argumentative, and I know that difference. I know what it is. I think that people don't have to be rude, they don't have to be combative, and I think that those things don't lead to open discussion by a board, and I don't think they lead to good decision-making. I think that I can be very direct when I'm not in agreement or I have a different point to make, but I also think, again, that I listen, I try to understand the other person's viewpoint, I try to convince them whatever my viewpoint might be, and then I make the best decision I can with the information I have, considering those options within my own personal principles, for the good of the hospital system.
Thank you. Mr. Wyatt?
From being on this board for several years, I think what I have always tried to do is I tend to sit back and listen a lot. And the main reason I do that, I think, is because I have an idea of what I'm thinking, what my opinions are, and what I know. But I can't really find out what everybody else is thinking if I'm too busy trying to talk. It's really important to me to find out what everybody else's thoughts are, what their opinions are. because everybody's a little different, and we're all after the same goal, I believe, on this board, but we may see different ways to get there. And if you don't take the time to listen to everybody's thoughts and opinions on situations and what we're trying to achieve, there's not always just necessarily one way to get to an answer. And so for me, it's very important to sit back and listen to what everybody's thoughts are on it so that we can achieve that. Because like I said, we're really in this as a board to do what's best for the health system overall. And we've got multitudes of lines, like I said, so it takes a lot of different decision-making on what we're doing. So I don't try and influence people by trying to get my way on what I'm doing. If I'm going to influence somebody, it's by taking the opinions of everybody, trying to go in the direction that, like Millie said, the consensus, the majority, so that everybody really agrees that we're headed in the right direction.
Thank you. Mr. Biggs?
Millie and Ken answered that really well. I basically would say I would learn as much as I possibly can about any question that's brought up, to listen to the opinions of the other board members and the hospital staff that's involved, and use what experience I have to help make the best decision.
Mr. Schmidt?
Well, it's important to, for me anyway, I think, to respect the other person's opinion first and listen them out and see where the best solution might be. I agree with everything that's been said prior to my remark here. One thing I think is important is to compliment the opinion that someone else has and learn from it.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate you all coming tonight and facing the questions, the cameras, and the people in the crowd. If you would join me in thanking the candidates for Memorial Health System Board of Directors.